Friday is International Women's Day, so here to talk about the women in the music industry, from how far they've come to the barriers that are left to break down. I'm joined by iHeartRadio Ambassador Patrick Langlois, Patty Lang, with stars like Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Cardi B. They're all topping the charts these days. It's hard to imagine a time when women weren't a huge part of the music industry, but in the 19th century, to be a female musician, you had to fall under a certain category. What were the options back then for women who wanted to pursue music?
Now, this is going to sound like nails on a blackboard, but prior to 1900, and even a bit after that, it was expected that women could play music, but not compose it. In 1880, Chicago music critic George P. Upton wrote a book called Women in Music, in which he argued that women lacked the creativity needed to compose good music due to a biological predisposition. Yeah, this was written in a book. Now, mind you, in those days, the ideal model for a woman was the stay-at-home mom who took care of the family, and composing music for profit was deemed as jeopardizing or undermining the family's reputation. And so to play music back in those days, you either had to be a nun playing exclusively for religion, or to come from a family of famed musicians, and you playing music would not jeopardize their reputation.
So those are the two options, nun and from a family. Okay. Now,
there you go.
I don't think anyone would be surprised that the Billboard Hot 100 has been somewhat of a boys' club over its history. But what female artists have been credited with breaking down some of those barriers?
Billboard Hot 100, definitely the reference for all that's hot in music. That countdown was installed August 4th, 1958. It took almost 2 years for an artist to break the gender gap. That came from Connie Francis with a song called Everybody's Somebody's Fool. Since then, the good news is that women have taken the top spot at an increasingly regular rate. In the 60s and 70s, women accounted for only about 22% of the number ones. Then in the 80s, that shot up to 29%. And then in the 90s, led by Mariah Carey, we got to almost par. 49% of all number ones were by women. In fact, Mariah Carey is the solo artist, man or woman, with the most number ones with 18. Only the Beatles trump her with 20 number ones.
All right, so what's the state of the gender gap in the music world today?
Well, the good news is that 2019 is off to a fantastic start for women. Out of the first 11 weeks out of the year, women have topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 10 weeks, which is more in just about 2 months of the year. That's more in 2019 than all of 2018 put together, when women only had the top spot for 8 weeks, and only 3 artists were able to accomplish it: Ariana Grande, Cardi B, and Camila Cabello. Flashback to 2 years ago, it was even worse. Only 6 weeks out of the whole year were led by women, with only 2 accomplishing it, Taylor Swift and Cardi B. And so it's getting better and better, but we're talking about number ones here, and we're almost at par, right? But if you look at just the industry as a whole, there's a report that just came out saying that only 21% of all artists were women, and so the gender gap is still huge.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You know, we have a positive snapshot in terms of number one hits, but that doesn't mean that there aren't systemic problems within the record industry. So what kind of steps are they trying to take to fix that?
So just a few weeks ago, there was a work group that was created. Over 200 known artists and producers have signed this, saying that they were going to be doubling down on efforts to get more women in the industry. And that means above and beyond just on stage and singing, because obviously the music industry is producers, it's engineers, it's A&Rs. And so they have all signed this report saying that whenever there was a new hire, they were at least going to be considering 2 women in an effort to get more and more girls into this boys' club.
Patrick Langlois, merci beaucoup, mon ami.
Plaisir.